Kristine Johnson dreamed of making her mark in Hollywood. So, when a charismatic producer offered her a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a chance to audition for a James Bond movie, it felt like her dreams were finally within reach. However, what began as a promising fairy tale quickly turned into a harrowing nightmare, cementing her story as one of the most haunting cases in true crime history. Welcome back to Chilling Fireside Stories, where I tell real-life cases that deserve to be remembered. My intention on this channel is to share these stories with the utmost care and respect while making them bearable for my community. I strive to present them in a way that honors the victims without being overly graphic or distressing. Now settle in and let's begin. Kristine Johnson, known as Christy, was born in 1981 in Santa Clara, California, the youngest child of Teresa and Kirk Johnson. She shared her childhood with her older brother Derek, who was a few years her senior. Shortly after Christy was born, the family relocated to the quaint town of Saugatuck, Michigan, a picturesque community of fewer than 1,000 residents, known for its serene harbor and close-knit neighborhoods. Life there seemed idyllic, a place where crime was so rare that locking doors was more of an afterthought. Her idyllic childhood shifted when her parents divorced at the age of 12, but Kristine's resilience shone through. Splitting time between her parents' homes, she quickly adapted to new responsibilities, helping manage the household and securing part-time jobs to ease financial pressures. As her older brother Derek joined the military, Kristine found her own way, embracing independence with determination. Known for her natural beauty, intelligence, and cheerful personality, she excelled at connecting with others. Whether sailing or surfing during visits to her grandmother in California, or performing with a local theater group back in Saugatuck, Kristine's love for adventure and the arts defined her. By the time she graduated high school in 1999, Kristine knew the quiet life of Saugatuck couldn't contain her ambitions. Ready to chase her dreams, she traveled from city to city, exploring new opportunities before finally settling in California in 2000, a place full of promise and the chance to make her mark. She initially lived with her grandmother in Santa Maria, California, a small resort town with a population of 100,000. Surrounded by the activities she loved, Kristine focused on building her independence. She secured a job as a system administrator at the local electric power company and enrolled at a local community college with plans to transfer to California Polytechnic University. She initially considered engineering, perhaps inspired by her new job, but a spark of interest in the entertainment world would soon take her on an entirely different path. During her studies, Kristine stumbled upon a part-time opportunity that would shape her Hollywood dreams. She applied for an assistant role on the set of the thriller Murder by Numbers and was thrilled when she got the job. The experience of working with industry professionals and watching a film come to life ignited a passion for being part of the magic behind the scenes. Inspired, Kristine decided to pursue professional makeup artistry and enrolled at a renowned school in Burbank, where she would learn skills tailored for film, television, and fashion. Determined to chase her Hollywood aspirations, she moved to West Hollywood, settling on Palm Avenue, near the bustling hubs of studios like Disney, DreamWorks, and Warner Brothers. Her small-town charm and warm personality made her stand out in a sea of ambitious dreamers, endearing her to those she met. However, Kristine's trusting nature sometimes left her vulnerable in a world that wasn't always kind. She navigated the highs and lows of LA life with determination, holding fast to her dreams while adjusting to the realities of her new city. In 2002, she moved in with her boyfriend, Todd, splitting the rent in West LA to make ends meet, but financial stability remained elusive. Despite the difficulties, Kristine stayed optimistic. In a letter to her father that July, she enthusiastically shared her excitement about working on a music video. "Hey Daddio," she wrote, "I was so nervous when I got down here, but I knew this is what I wanted, so I stuck with it, and now I'm on my way." Her determination shone through, but the road ahead was anything but easy. Professionally, Kristine's Hollywood ambitions had hit a standstill. After briefly working as a production assistant on a film, she struggled to find her next opportunity in the industry. To make ends meet, she began searching for a day job. At the same time, her relationship with Todd was unraveling. Tensions over finances and loyalty led to heated arguments, and the once bright connection between them began to fade. Concerned for her safety as the relationship turned toxic, Kristine confided in her mother, Teresa. Feeling trapped and unable to afford living on her own, she knew she needed a way out. Determined to help, Teresa began searching for apartments Kristine could share with other women, while Kristine focused on finding a job. Her dad wired her money when she was in a bind, while her mom gifted her a white convertible Mazda Miata and covered expenses like her cell phone bill and part of her rent. These contributions offered Kristine a lifeline as she worked to regain her footing. By November 2002, Kristine found a job doing data entry at a cellular company in Marina del Rey. To shorten her commute, Teresa helped her find an affordable apartment in Santa Monica. By February 2003, Kristine's 2 years in LA had not unfolded as she had envisioned. Her career had stalled, her relationship had ended, and her Hollywood dreams seemed further away than ever. Still, she clung to the belief that her big break was just around the corner. On Saturday morning, February 15, 2003, Kristine spoke with her mother at length over the phone. They chatted about her plans and future ambitions, and Teresa encouraged her daughter to treat herself to a Valentine's Day and an early birthday gift at the mall. What neither of them knew was that their usual "I love yous" at the end of this call would be their last ones. Later that evening, Teresa tried calling Kristine to hear about her shopping trip, but there was no answer. Assuming her daughter was busy enjoying her weekend, Teresa thought little of it. But when Sunday passed without Kristine's usual check-in, worry began to creep in. Calls to Kristine's phone went straight to voicemail, which was unusual. Teresa reasoned that perhaps Kristine's phone had died after a long night out, but by Monday morning, her concern had grown. She decided to call Kristine's workplace, expecting her daughter to answer as she always did. Instead, the phone rang endlessly before going to voicemail. Frustrated, Teresa called the main office and spoke with Kristine's manager, who delivered unsettling news. Kristine hadn't shown up for work. The manager explained that Kristine was a reliable employee who had never missed a shift in her 3 months there. The last time anyone had seen her was on Friday, February 14th. A co-worker mentioned that Kristine had talked about attending a rave on Saturday night, but no one knew where it was. Alarmed, Teresa contacted Kristine's father, Kirk, in Michigan. They agreed that if Kristine didn't turn up by the end of the day, they would involve the police. Teresa also checked Kristine's phone and bank accounts, which they shared, but found no activity that could help locate her. She reached out to her son, Derek, and other family members, but no one had heard from Kristine since Saturday. By Monday afternoon, Teresa had had enough. She called the Santa Monica Police Department to report her 21-year-old daughter missing. The police began by checking for any reports of vehicle accidents involving someone matching Kristine's description, but there were none. They advised Teresa to contact local hospitals in case Kristine had been admitted, but those calls also yielded no results. Determined to find answers, Teresa provided the police with Kristine's details. She was 5 feet 9 inches, around 140 pounds, with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a slender build. She drove a 1996 white Mazda Miata with a black convertible top and had a distinctive hibiscus flower tattoo across her lower back. Teresa also mentioned Kristine's recent tumultuous relationship with her ex-boyfriend, Todd, and her move to a shared apartment with 2 roommates. Officer Mark Holland of the Santa Monica Police Department took the case seriously. He contacted one of Kristine's roommates to gather more information. She explained that she had last seen Kristine on Saturday afternoon. Kristine had returned from the mall and was rushing to get ready for an audition before heading to a party she had RSVP'd for. However, Kristine's roommate didn't know the locations of either event, leaving the officer with little to go on. Officer Holland handed the case over to veteran detective Virginia Obenchain, who had nearly 2 decades of experience in the Santa Monica Police Department. As she reviewed the details, a chilling sense of déjà vu washed over her. Certain aspects of Kristine's case reminded her of another investigation from 1996 involving Linda Sobuk, a 27-year-old aspiring actress and model. Linda had vanished after telling her mother she was heading to a last-minute photo shoot. Days later, her family reported her missing. The investigation eventually led to photographer Charles Rathbun, who initially denied knowing Linda's whereabouts. However, evidence found in the Angeles National Forest, including photos and personal items, linked him to her disappearance. Rathbun later confessed to burying Linda's body in a shallow grave, though his story about her death changed multiple times. The autopsy revealed Linda had likely been strangled, and her injuries were inconsistent with Rathbun's claims of an accidental death. Detective Obenchain couldn't ignore the parallels between the two cases. Both involved young, ambitious women lured by promises of professional opportunities. With Kristine's case now in her hands, Obenchain vowed to uncover the truth and bring her family the answers they desperately needed. The first major lead was Kristine's car, a white convertible Mazda Miata. A be-on-the-lookout alert was issued for officers to locate the vehicle. Next, Obenchain spoke with Kristine's mother Teresa to gather more details about her recent contacts. Teresa mentioned two names: Lucas, a man Kristine found attractive who had invited her on a trip to Hawaii, and Todd, her ex-boyfriend, who had a history of possessive behavior, including locking her out of her own car during an argument. While Lucas's intentions seemed uncertain, Todd's behavior raised immediate red flags, and Obenchain knew he would be a priority to interview. Despite the grim circumstances, Obenchain reassured Teresa that no unidentified bodies matching Kristine's description had been reported. However, the weekend had passed, and with 48 critical hours already lost, every possibility had to be considered. The chilling thought that Kristine could already be in grave danger weighed heavily on everyone involved. On the second day of the investigation, Obenchain analyzed Kristine's cell phone records. Although technology at the time was limited, she discovered that Kristine's last outgoing call was made to 411 at 5:34 p.m. on February 15th. The 3-minute call, which likely sought assistance with a phone number or address, seemed significant. The phone pinged off a tower on Ventura Boulevard, but its exact location couldn't be pinpointed due to the large coverage radius. Obenchain speculated that Kristine may have gotten lost or stranded before her phone died, leaving a critical gap in the timeline. To widen the search, Obenchain turned to the media. Although she knew media attention could invite false leads and opportunists, she also recognized its value in generating tips and raising public awareness. Compiling Kristine's photos, she distributed them to local news outlets. Headlines quickly captured the public's attention. Beautiful blonde, aspiring model missing, may have been meeting a photographer. While not entirely accurate, the story resonated deeply in a city still haunted by the Linda Sobuk case. The similarities were undeniable, and the media coverage fueled both fear and urgency. For many in the entertainment industry, Kristine's disappearance was a stark reminder of the potential dangers lurking beneath Hollywood's glamorous surface. Investigators scoured Kristine Johnson's apartment, carefully searching every room for clues that might lead to her whereabouts. They collected personal items, including her toothbrush and hairbrush, to potentially use for DNA analysis later. During their search, they found something they believed could be significant: a receipt from a lingerie store dated February 15th, the day Kristine disappeared. This discovery prompted them to seek a detailed bank statement from her account, hoping to trace all the locations she had visited that day. The lingerie store, called Trashy Lingerie, was a well-known spot in LA famous for its unique approach to business. Shoppers needed to purchase a small membership to access the store, which catered to stars and celebrities, offering not just intimate apparel but also costumes and accessories for LA's vibrant nightlife. Investigators suspected Kristine had purchased something there for the rave she'd planned to attend that Saturday night. It was another small but crucial lead in piecing together her final movements. Meanwhile, officers were distributing posters of Kristine near the Century City Mall, where she was last known to shop. After just 1 week, investigators had gathered a wealth of tips from her family and friends. Her roommate, Carrie, provided a key piece of information. Kristine had recently visited her ex-boyfriend Todd on February 7th, a week before her disappearance. Todd had since moved to Santa Maria, where Kristine's grandmother also lived, and she had dropped by to see him during a trip. Detectives questioned Kristine's ex-boyfriend, Todd, who hadn't taken their breakup well, raising suspicions. Todd, eager to clear his name, drove from Santa Maria to Santa Monica for questioning. He detailed their rocky relationship, admitting to past arguments, but denying any intent to harm her. For the day Kristine went missing, Todd provided an alibi, claiming he was dirt biking with friends in Santa Maria. Investigators verified his story, temporarily clearing him as a suspect. Further analysis of Kristine's computer led to another potential breakthrough. Investigators accessed her email account and found a message she had sent to an event coordinator on February 13th about a rave happening in downtown LA. Kristine had told co-workers about her plans for Saturday, confirming her intention to go. Detectives now had a growing list of people to contact. One was Lucas, a fellow resident in Kristine's apartment building who admitted he ran into her on Saturday afternoon. He described her as being in good spirits, mentioning she was rushing to an audition before heading to the party. Lucas provided an alibi that cleared him of suspicion. Investigators also learned about another individual, a friend Kristine had invited over on Valentine's Day. He later came forward, explaining that they had spent the evening watching a movie before he left sometime after midnight. Both men's accounts checked out. However, the details of the rave continued to raise questions. Investigators wondered if something had gone wrong at the event. Kristine's connection to this world through her friend network suggested that the rave could hold the answers they desperately sought. The investigators questioned one of her friends to gauge whether Kristine had any habits that might point to trouble. She wasn't really a drinker or into anything else, the friend explained. She just loved the music and dancing. I never saw her heavily intoxicated or using anything. The questioning didn't yield much, but investigators then turned their attention to the rave Kristine had mentioned. They contacted the event coordinator to check if she had attended. To their surprise, Kristine's name wasn't crossed off the guest list, confirming she had never made it to the party. Her bank records, finally obtained by investigators, helped outline her activities on February 15th. The transactions showed that Kristine stopped at a Starbucks on Santa Monica Boulevard at 11:45 a.m. Shortly after, she purchased gas at a station nearby, likely preparing for her weekend plans. By 1:33 p.m., she made another purchase at Bloomingdale's in Century City Mall. A third transaction followed moments later at a neighboring store, Guess. Finally, at 2:15 p.m., her card was used at a lingerie shop on La Cienega Boulevard. It appeared that Kristine had gone home afterward, as she made no further transactions before her last call at 5:34 p.m., which pinged off a cell tower on Ventura Boulevard within a 3-mile radius. Investigators retraced her steps, requesting surveillance footage from each store. They were searching for anything unusual, whether Kristine seemed distressed, had any strange interactions, or was possibly followed. As they awaited the footage, tips continued pouring in. One stood out from the rest. A 24-year-old woman named Susan Murphy called the police with information that would soon add a chilling new layer to the case. A month before Kristine Johnson's disappearance, a Santa Monica accountant named Susan Murphy had a chilling encounter that now weighed heavily on her mind. After reading an article in the LA Times about Kristine's case, Susan felt compelled to contact the police. Something about the details struck a nerve, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she might have valuable information. Susan Murphy recalled an encounter that had left her deeply unsettled, an experience that now seemed frighteningly relevant after reading about Kristine Johnson's disappearance. On January 24th, after leaving work as an accountant in Santa Monica, Susan prepared for a dinner outing at the nearby Century City Mall. She changed into a gray miniskirt, black crewneck sweater, dark pantyhose, and knee-high boots. Strolling through the mall and browsing stores, she was approached by a man who seemingly appeared out of nowhere. He was tall, clean-shaven, and in his 30s, with sharp blue eyes and wavy hair. His casual but polished appearance, khaki pants, and a beige coat gave him an air of normalcy. "You're very attractive," he said, breaking the ice. Caught off guard but polite, Susan thanked him and returned her attention to the displays. However, moments later, he approached again. Introducing himself as Victor Thomas, he claimed to be the director of photography for a production company affiliated with Disney. He explained they were casting for a new James Bond movie, dropping big names and emphasizing confidentiality. Susan was skeptical but intrigued. Offers like these, while rare, weren't unheard of in LA. Victor launched into a detailed pitch, praising Susan's perfect look for the role. He even described the ideal attire for her audition: a black miniskirt, a crisp white button-up shirt, sheer black pantyhose, and vintage-style stiletto heels. He assured her it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and arranged to meet her at 5:30 in the afternoon the following day, providing an address near La Cienega Boulevard. Although flattered, Susan felt uneasy. When she shared the story with her fiancé Tony, a former police officer from London, his skepticism immediately set in. "It's too good to be true," he warned. Still, they decided to see it through, but with caution. The next day, Tony drove Susan to the meeting spot and parked at a distance to observe. Susan, uncomfortable with Victor's specific wardrobe request, opted for pants and sneakers instead of the heels and skirt. She carried the items in a bag, determined to stay safe. When Victor arrived, his demeanor was unsettling. Dressed sharply in a business suit, he appeared angry that Susan hadn't worn the full outfit. "That's not what I told you to wear," he snapped, before softening his tone and suggesting they grab a drink to discuss the role further. Victor placed a hand on Susan's shoulder, nudging her forward. Alarmed, she pulled back and demanded proof of his credentials. Flustered, Victor claimed he had left his wallet on set and began berating her for squandering an opportunity of a lifetime. Sensing danger, Susan stood her ground, stating, "My safety comes first." Undeterred, Victor insisted she follow him to meet a friend named Natasha, but Susan refused and backed away. As the tense exchange unfolded, Tony emerged from his car and chased after Victor, whose suspicious behavior escalated. Victor fled, darting through alleyways and trying to hide under bushes. Tony finally cornered him and searched him to ensure he wasn't armed. While Victor insisted he worked for Disney, his story unraveled when Tony demanded a phone number to verify his identity. The number was fake, and Victor escaped yet again. The following day, Susan considered reporting the incident to the police but hesitated, as no crime had technically occurred. Instead, she reached out to the Screen Actors Guild, where she confirmed that no James Bond movie was in production or casting. The truth was undeniable. Victor's intentions were anything but professional. As the case of Kristine Johnson unfolded, Susan couldn't help but wonder, had this man tried to pull the same scheme on Kristine, with far more sinister results? The investigators requested itemized receipts from the stores Kristine visited and reviewed mall surveillance footage from January 24th, hoping to capture Susan's interaction with Victor. Susan and her fiancé Tony worked with a sketch artist to create a composite of Victor. The process took several hours, but ultimately produced a credible image. Susan then retraced her steps with detectives, showing them the exact locations she visited at the mall. Reviewing the security footage, investigators spotted Susan entering the mall, trailed closely by a man wearing a baseball cap, matching her description of Victor. It was a significant lead. Meanwhile, the search for Kristine intensified. Police deployed K-9 units, combed canyons, and patrolled areas between Santa Monica and Beverly Hills, focusing on abandoned cars. Dozens of calls about possible sightings of Kristine's Mazda Miata turned up nothing. Finally, on February 24th, investigators made a breakthrough when her car was discovered in a parking garage at Century Plaza Hotel near Century City Mall. This finding brought a renewed sense of urgency to the case. The car was in a valet-only spot, raising initial hopes that Kristine might be nearby. However, further investigation revealed something more sinister. The valet attendant reported that the car had been dropped off at 5:45 in the morning, not by Kristine, but by a well-dressed man in his 40s. The man ignored instructions to move the car, tossed the keys to the valet, and walked toward the mall. Crime scene technicians combed through the car for evidence, finding fingerprints, a water bottle, a cell phone on the front seat, and a movie tape. Though the items offered clues, Kristine's absence and the involvement of an unknown man alarmed investigators. The entire hotel premises and nearby areas were searched with K-9 units, but there was no sign of Kristine. The media spread Kristine's story far and wide, capturing the attention of people across the nation. Authorities released a sketch of the unknown man connected to the case. Teresa also made an emotional plea, urging for her daughter's safe return, saying, "No matter what is happening to her, we will find her." Her words reflected both the pain and determination behind the desperate search. Detectives received a detailed breakdown of Kristine Johnson's purchases on February 15th, confirming she had bought a white button-down blouse, a black miniskirt, sheer pantyhose, and black 6-inch heels, exactly the outfit Susan Murphy had been instructed to wear by Victor Thomas for the fake James Bond casting. This discovery made the connection between Kristine and Victor undeniable. Investigators revisited Kristine's roommate, Carrie, to gather further insights. Carrie recalled seeing Kristine the afternoon of February 15th when she returned home excited and rushing. Kristine mentioned she was heading to a last-minute audition for a major project that would require filming overseas, even mentioning a James Bond connection. She was thrilled about the opportunity and the potential earnings of $100,000, though she admitted having some doubts. Carrie described the outfit Kristine had purchased: a white collared shirt, a black miniskirt, sheer pantyhose, and high heels. Kristine had tried on the items at home, commenting that the heels were much taller than what she was used to wearing, but understanding that the look was part of the role's requirements. Her final words to Carrie were about heading to a Beverly Hills location for the audition. Despite reviewing hours of surveillance footage from Bloomingdale's, detectives found no evidence of Kristine interacting with anyone suspicious at the mall. Then, on February 26th, a major break came when Marianne Laus, a parole officer, recognized the composite sketch broadcast on the evening news. It resembled one of her parolees, Victor Paleologos, who had been released on January 20th, 2003, just weeks before Kristine Johnson went missing. Acting quickly, Marianne contacted the police, sharing her suspicion. Investigators ran Victor's name and discovered he was already in custody for grand theft auto, arrested on February 17th, 2 days after Kristine's disappearance. As detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a disturbing history. Victor's record included a 1989 conviction for a violent assault on a young actress, Kristine Johnson. Posing as a music executive, Victor had lured her to a luxury hotel under the pretense of attending a celebrity-filled party. Once alone in the room, he attacked her, attempting to tie her up with a rope he had hidden behind the bed. Kristine fought back fiercely, managing to escape his grasp and survive the ordeal. Kristine Johnsson's harrowing escape from Victor Paleologos in 1989 revealed the true danger he posed. Her screams attracted help, and she escaped to the hallway, pounding on doors until someone let her in to call the police. Victor was arrested and charged with attempted sexual assault and false imprisonment. However, his cunning ways prevailed. He pleaded to a lesser charge of false imprisonment, submitted a forged character letter from a former employer, and avoided serious punishment, receiving only 3 years of probation. A similar encounter happened to Kathy DeBono, who crossed paths with Victor Paleologos in 1998. Victor approached her under the guise of being a Disney executive casting for a James Bond promotion. He praised her appearance and claimed she had the perfect look for the role, offering a lucrative opportunity. However, Kathy's instincts told her something was off. She decided to bring a male friend to their meeting, which took place at a public location. When Victor realized she wasn't alone, he abruptly disappeared, leaving Kathy unharmed but deeply suspicious of his intentions. Investigators discovered that Victor Paleologos had been honing his schemes for years. Despite being out on parole for just weeks, he wasted no time resuming his manipulative tactics. Most recently, he had attempted to steal a BMW from Beverly Hills by posing as a wealthy executive. Using fake identification and bank details, he convinced the dealership he was a legitimate buyer. When the vehicle was being prepped, Victor seized the moment to drive off with the car. He was quickly apprehended, and his wallet was found filled with stolen IDs, credit cards, and blank checks, pieces of evidence pointing to a much larger pattern of fraud. Detectives brought Susan Murphy in for a lineup, where she immediately identified Victor as the man who had pretended to be a Disney executive. Her fiancé, Tony, also positively identified him. Meanwhile, another critical lead emerged. Paul Cady, a real estate broker, recognized Victor from the composite sketch. He recalled showing Victor multiple properties in the Laurel Canyon area, including a secluded home on Skyline Drive with nearby hiking trails, a property Victor seemed particularly interested in. On February 2003, the real estate broker Paul Cady spent multiple days chauffeuring Victor to upscale properties around Laurel Canyon. Victor's behavior raised eyebrows. He would close himself in closets and shout, claiming to be testing the soundproofing for music production. Behind the scenes, he was stealing from these homes, including credit cards and IDs, to fund his lifestyle. On February 15th, the day Kristine Johnson disappeared, Paul did not meet Victor, but they reconnected the following day, and later Victor was arrested for stealing a BMW from Beverly Hills. A search of Victor's belongings revealed incriminating evidence. Investigators found stolen IDs, keys, and his computer, which contained disturbing images of women dressed in the exact attire he had instructed his victims to wear for fake auditions. Detectives suspected Victor had used one of the homes he toured to commit a crime against Kristine. While Kristine's family held vigils to mark her 22nd birthday, detectives worked tirelessly to find her. One officer attempted to question Victor about Kristine's disappearance. Presenting her photo, the detective fabricated a story about a witness placing them together, hoping to coax a reaction. Victor, however, denied any involvement and demanded an attorney, leaving investigators frustrated and more determined to uncover the truth. Detectives continued to probe Victor Paleologos, but he refused to cooperate, dismissing all attempts to appeal to his morality. He claimed he had spent the evening of February 15th at home before meeting a friend at IHOP, an alibi his friend confirmed. However, detectives knew he still had enough time to potentially encounter Kristine Johnson that evening. Meanwhile, inclement weather in Southern California hampered search efforts, with downpours causing unsafe conditions. A break came when Douglas Kirkland, a resident of Laurel Canyon, called the police. He reported seeing Kristine on February 15th, asking for directions to a castle house. His wife provided directions to a local home around 5:30 p.m., aligning with Kristine's 411 call for directions. On Monday, March 3rd, Victor was placed in a lineup for witnesses to identify him. However, Victor had grown a beard in custody, likely to confuse witnesses. Detectives secured a court order to shave him for the lineup, ensuring a fair process as the search for Kristine continued. Paleologos was identified by Susan and Tony, but not by the valet attendant. At the same time, investigators received a devastating call. 4 teenage boys exploring Skyline Drive in the Hollywood Hills discovered what appeared to be a body in a narrow ravine, about 80 feet down. Unsure of what to do, the boys eventually flagged down a passerby, a local woman named Sally, who descended the ravine to investigate. There, she saw the body of a woman lying on her side, partially clothed, with her hands tied behind her back. Sally noticed details that matched Kristine Johnson's description, including a hibiscus tattoo on her lower back. She called the police, who arrived to recover the body carefully while preserving evidence. The location, near a home Victor had shown interest in, raised suspicion that he was involved. The discovery left detectives and Kristine's family devastated. Her body was transported to the medical examiner's office for formal identification, while authorities prepared to notify her parents, a heartbreaking moment in the relentless pursuit of justice for Kristine. Kristine Johnson's parents, Kirk and Teresa, were devastated by the confirmation of their daughter's death. Kirk received the heartbreaking news first, reflecting on her life and crying out to the sky, while Teresa learned the news upon landing in New York, immediately preparing to return to California. Their grief was immeasurable. Kristine's body was transferred to the Forensic Science Center, where detectives and forensic experts examined for evidence. Kristine's shoes bore scuff marks indicating she had been dragged. Her hands and ankles were bound with white shoelaces. Despite severe decomposition, DNA evidence was collected, and additional bruising suggested a violent struggle. An autopsy revealed significant injuries, including a paramatum skull injury behind her left ear and extensive bruising on her body, confirming she had fought for her life. The manner of death was ruled a homicide, though the exact cause remained undetermined. Dental records confirmed her identity. As investigators examined Victor's phone records, they discovered calls to an individual, Joey, on the night Kristine was killed. Joey, a handyman who had met Victor while maintaining an abandoned restaurant, admitted he had little knowledge of Victor's past. However, the connection added another piece to the ongoing investigation, as detectives worked tirelessly to link Victor directly to the crime. Joey described receiving multiple calls from him that night, with Victor claiming he was delayed. When he finally arrived at IHOP around midnight, Joey noticed 3 red scratches above Victor's eyebrow, which he dismissed as an accident. After their meal, Victor asked to stay at Joey's apartment, an unusual request. The next morning, Victor left early, claiming he was heading to Mass at Good Shepherd Church. However, investigators found no record of his attendance and discovered the church did not hold morning services on weekends. Detective Obenchain theorized that Victor met Kristine Johnson at Century City Mall, using his familiar ruse to lure her into attending a supposed audition at a castle house on Skyline Drive. Navigating the steep winding roads of the area without GPS would have been challenging, but Kristine was determined. Once there, he likely directed her to change into the outfit he had requested, possibly under the guise of an audition. At some point, Kristine fought back, but Victor escalated his violence, ultimately restraining her with pre-prepared shoelaces. Believing he had killed her, he placed her in a sleeping bag and threw her into the ravine, where she later succumbed to her injuries. Victor's movements after the crime were calculated. Obenchain suspected he drove Kristine's car to IHOP, parking it out of sight before meeting his friend Joey. The next morning, Victor retrieved the car and abandoned it in a hotel valet lot at 5:45 in the morning, then returned to his residence by bus. On March 7th, another woman, Alice Walker, came forward. She recounted meeting Victor in January 2003 at Century City Mall, where he posed as a writer and businessman. They spent hours talking, during which Victor described a disturbing plot for a book about a man who strangles a woman and frames someone else for the crime. This chilling detail further solidified Obenchain's belief that Victor had meticulously planned his actions, exploiting Kristine's dreams for his own sinister purposes. Victor Paleologos's manipulative schemes continued to unravel as more women came forward with stories of similar encounters. By May 2003, toxicology results confirmed Kristine Johnson's death was a homicide caused by blunt force trauma to the head and neck, leading to internal bleeding and asphyxia. However, no DNA evidence directly linked Victor to the crime, and investigators faced challenges proving he killed Kristine despite circumstantial evidence, such as phone records placing him at Century City Mall and calls pinging near Laurel Canyon the night Kristine disappeared. Victor's defense argued there was no conclusive proof tying him to Kristine's murder. Without direct DNA evidence or security footage showing them together, investigators were left to rely on the mounting testimonies and circumstantial evidence to build their case. The prosecution built its case against Victor Paleologos by highlighting the testimonies of women he had previously conned. They presented a visual board showing patterns in his behavior, including locations, the James Bond ruse, and the specific clothing he requested. Judge Perry allowed these prior acts as evidence due to their striking similarities, despite the defense's objections. The trial began in July 2006, with Kristine Johnson's family in attendance. The prosecution's opening statement detailed Kristine's tragic story, Victor's manipulative tactics, and the graphic circumstances of her death. They addressed the lack of DNA evidence, attributing it to decomposition and environmental factors, while emphasizing Victor's incriminating phone records and disturbing images found on his computer. The defense countered by arguing there was no direct evidence linking Victor to Kristine's murder. They pointed out the valet attendant's inability to identify Victor and suggested the women's testimonies were unreliable, portraying them as seeking attention. They also highlighted the absence of DNA, claiming it undermined the prosecution's case. The trial set the stage for a battle between circumstantial evidence and the defense's insistence on reasonable doubt, as Kristine's family sought justice for their daughter. The trial took a dramatic turn when Victor Paleologos decided to plead guilty midway through the proceedings to avoid the death penalty. He agreed to a deal for 25 years to life, waiving his right to an appeal. In court, Victor formally admitted responsibility for Kristine Johnson's murder, though he avoided providing details. His statement offered sympathies to Kristine's family, claiming his decision was not meant to upset them, but without revealing his true motives. However, at sentencing, Victor attempted to withdraw his plea through a handwritten motion, arguing insufficient representation. Judge Perry dismissed the motion, emphasizing that a plea cannot be withdrawn simply due to a change of heart. Victor was sentenced to 25 years to life. In July 2023, a group called Justice for Kristine came together to ensure Kristine Johnson's killer stayed behind bars, opposing his potential parole after nearly 2 decades in prison. Victor Paleologos had been scheduled for a parole hearing, sparking efforts to highlight his dangerous history. The group emphasized that he posed a continued threat, citing his 1998 conviction for another violent crime and his early release in 2003, just weeks before Kristine's murder. Ultimately, Paleologos decided to waive his right to the parole hearing, delaying his next eligibility until 2025. Kristine's mother, Terry, expressed a deep sense of relief, describing the news as lifting an emotional burden she hadn't fully realized she was carrying. This decision brought some peace to Kristine's loved ones, knowing her killer would remain behind bars for years to come. Kristine Johnson's tragic case serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers posed by individuals who exploit the dreams and trust of others. Despite the devastating loss, justice was served, and the persistent efforts of Kristine's loved ones and law enforcement ensured that her voice was heard. Her story resonates as a call to stay vigilant and support victims of such crimes, while honoring Kristine's memory by striving to create safer communities. Thank you for watching. If you found this video meaningful, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Each case takes hours of dedicated work to ensure the victim stories are told with respect, accuracy, and care. Your support helps keep their voices alive and raises awareness for justice. Until next time, stay safe and take care.